Hi, my name is Ruth Ann Johnson, and today you'll be watching my observation video. This video will be taping an RTI committee meeting where we will be looking at Tier 3 students. We'll be making recommendations and listening to information that the teachers will be presenting on those students. So I hope that you enjoy. Thank you.
Okay.
They were that email with I was like crying almost.
And like, we're at the beginning of the questions, you know, I was supposed to have him write these, but I wrote it for him anyway, because I didn't want this part to hang him up.
Yeah.
And it would. And he has great ideas and what he thinks can happen and
Yes. He just understand or identify.
He just won't. Maybe it's I think he can.
It's motivation.
Yes. I think he can. I talked to him today and I'm like, he read two chapters. Like,
And that is
change the whole way for us to give yourself credit for it. So that we're probably okay with working hard.
and
You know, that's the
I
thing.
used graphic organizer.
He was getting frustrated because
drawing,
he's reading because I needed to get it done.
And then it's like, all in one.
But I told him, I said, all four processes your best on this, otherwise we'll have to pull another one out while we're together. And so I think after the third one, he started figuring, I mean, I gave him time this week, but
She's
he
not,
finally got the
she's really
fluency
slow that
with
you present the question and
he has
she just
and he has
stays.
47
Decoding
strategies.
strategies.
He's got
She's
that.
like slowly processing if I
34.
or may not.
But
So what level is he on?
so you started it when mid-June, so she's only doing it for about a month.
Well, the last goal, yes. The first goal I started in October.
His fellow has first gracious.
Oh, there's 4, 5, Shayla. We have a lot of kids.
So I gave them 3, 4, 5, 6,
And then Lori and I kind of, we're working
12 weeks.
one child a day. And I'm
Weeks for the
sending
first
it
goal,
in
and
the day
we have
with a
since
reading passage and they're
mid-January,
reading to
so
themselves out loud. Just and then with her reminding them to get things.
because I'm seeing her
See if that
every other
works
day.
for her or whatever. And so he went down today, and I think he just certainly answers the one right. And
And
there's
the
not
second
highlight
goal
on
was
her.
only January, which is 2 weeks.
And this was easy. This
What
one
is
is
left of February.
This is he not completing tasks?
He doesn't
Did she meet the goal?
or he just slops the answers.
I'm just wondering is, what the math scores prior to fourth grade? I know you mentioned slow. Has she been struggling in the other grades? Your typical behavior where we're working every, I'm off for holidays, I can look. You didn't say that?
You didn't say
get so many tabs on tasks.
Okay, I didn't close it out. All right, so let's look.
Her third grade math benchmark one, she scored at 27%. Her second benchmark, she scored at 27%.
So she was successful. Third grade, she's not going to be successful.
We were having words. She's not doing well in reading either though. Reading, star reading in third grade, she went at 35. Her reading benchmark, 23%. I mean, she's consistently making it around in the 20s. What about second?
And then I got several gray areas.
She must not be scared.
Well, I didn't present,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't present the reading because her EDL was 34, which is close to the benchmark. It's close to 40, which is maybe, and the benchmark was 50, which is, I think, 50 is like a bubble kid, but it would be more than that. So, I'm really worried about the math, where he's 23 and 4, so I can work with that. With the reading, I feel like
My guess is that no one's talking
even though I know it shows like, I think she was potentially 34 and 34.
No, they said
And, I'm sorry, that's third grade, I'm sorry. That's your 38? 38, yeah.
Yeah, but she's below, but she's not that below. If it was like a 20, maybe I would present. Like, wow. So she's low, but
Definitely, we have have concerns for that.
Maybe she has.
Math is the one that is red. You know what's funny is that her, on her, if you look at her,
Well, apparently I don't know who he is.
in first, second, third grade,
This is normal for him.
completed them.
And when you, every single
Every
paper
time.
is that.
Her math tests.
And I don't know that he has, I mean,
So it's more of a processing, not just.
Third grade math
Math,
class
I
at the end of the
couldn't
9
tell you
weeks
if
last
he's
year,
got
she's the only time she ever completed, she didn't complete them was first grade. Fourth grade.
make up some rounds.
So I wonder why,
Oh, yeah, because
What
that's
are
the name
her
of
calc
the
scores? Do you know what her calc scores are?
or what?
Calc scores, or English language proficiency?
I do not know, but
It
I
should be on here, right?
Right.
I'm done.
Maybe if you go to forms, and then calc.
And he has tons of other strategies that we worked on.
so you're looking for the deltas?
We can look at how fast that is.
The level of English?
Her English level, is that interfering with her math?
We talked together this morning, she said, they only speak Spanish.
And if you don't do any work, I can't prove
Here,
hold on.
here, I'll switch with you.
Can you get, am I?
I can,
You're fine, you're fine.
yeah. Yes.
third grade, they tell you if you don't pass.
She understands.
Fourth grade, they tell you if you don't pass, you don't count that day. So fifth grade, they tell you.
We did the open number line.
So what do we want to do?
Really figure it out after a little time.
Oh, so what I was saying was, so her one goal was for her to, calculate the differences, with numbers up to 100. So if she got the word problems wrong, let's just say that's a language, maybe she's not quite sure. The thing was, is I did a whole module lessons, 30 lessons. So she sat with me for 30 lessons and we did the open number line that we used. On this, she didn't use the fancy tally. She does tally marks all over the paper. So she would done her erased. So you can see on the back, she has tally marks all on here, and then she erased it. And she got every single one of these wrong, and it's just subtraction. It's just complete subtraction. And that's in a module. She got 9 out of 25 after 30 lessons. And most of them get 17, 18 numbers. Did you say 30? Those were numbers. Numbers are just like tally. 9 out of 25. And most of them get like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. She only got 9. And she has a real hard time processing.
So this is on a number line that she's having
She
to,
creates the number.
she has to create it.
So like if you're going from, you take away 64, they start at 64 and they count up. So she goes 64, you make a jump to 70, and then 70 to 100. And they have a chart they give you to use that if you want to. Like the hard time for her is if we went from 30 to 50, she doesn't know that's 20 jumps. She has to count.
Our schedule around her.
She can't count that.
She doesn't have any place,
She doesn't have place back.
does she get to use like base 10 blocks in the classroom?
She just uses, okay, for me, she just uses the open number line in that chart.
So she's starting at, yeah,
From just, yeah.
yeah, starting from like first grade,
Yeah.
where it just
She
uses
does have
base
some
10 blocks and
She's better at
decomposing and,
multiplication.
because if she could see, if you're jumping from 30 to 50 with base 10 blocks, she's gonna visually see 10, 20, there's 20 versus, that might be hard for her to
The
visualize.
red flag for me was when we were multiplying by 1.
That's right.
So, and Dawn was was with me at that class, and we were like, okay, 5 times 1.
So I remember not being more inclined to
I'm like, okay, if you multiply a number, so I explained the rule, by 1, it's always going to be the other number.
So I did the circles and stars concept, you guys know that.
Right, she did,
And she still just looked, and it's just like, okay, and then you give her another topic.
Yeah, she's not gonna be able to do multiplication if she can't, I mean,
Count on, right? She doesn't have any numbers set.
Well, I mean, or reasonableness, because like, 86 minus 30 is 80. 77 minus 10 is 70. 66 minus 49 is 69. So she has no numbers.
but she says that she's been using them in the classroom.
Right.
So does she have like a mat that hundreds, tens, ones, and she makes the number, and then if you're subtracting, she decomposes the numbers, or?
We use manipulatives with her, so she can, we don't have a map, but
We'll just have an organizer? Yeah, just so like she can see, it's just, you can make it on piece of paper, HTO, and that way she can visually see, here's 80, and I need, 80 minus 76 or whatever. Is she into freeze or straight line? Okay, maybe it's a difference. Maybe it's more efficient. Maybe it's
appreciate it.
oh, it's straight, just to tie it.
We don't have that kind of, and I think she wants to try. She's always trying to try.
So I pulled her to the side and I,
Grit that you want.
told her, look, this is what it is.
Last week, she,
I was like, okay, now you do the
I
rest
work
on
with her
your
little
own.
brother after school
So
on
she
Mondays
did
and
fine as long
Fridays,
as it
and
was after the
Fridays
decimal.
she wanted,
But in
I
front
was
of the
just looking
decimal,
for you,
she
she
was
said,
still
I'm
making
really having problems in
instead
math,
of
and really,
hundreds.
if my brother's staying
And then
at
even
home,
writing it.
stay with my math teacher, and I think
And that's with.
Miss Belly let her go upstairs, but you were gone, so it didn't work out. So I know that
Write the number and so you didn't
she's
hurt
aware that she's,
She wouldn't come to math. It's like,
your basic. When again, like here comes Brian,
yeah,
then again,
she's
she's
not,
100%.
okay, I was gonna say, she can come to that, she's not coming,
But fractions and decimals, she's still struggling.
but she doesn't have to show up.
And then here, this is another one of
This
these
is hard.
things that she struggles with.
Fives at the time.
Comparing the fractions. I'm just at my wit's end because you can see she's just struggling
This is the
across the
first
board. I
time
mean, it
because
doesn't
it was
matter.
presenting, I can deal
Like I
with so
said, I
much
try to
of
keep it point, like,
So I have to
even that, it's just,
this is too much.
and
So, and I wanted to
As
have
far
a
as,
to show you guys
star,
if I come with,
far as star,
I better have something to go my thinking.
reading
And she's
star,
been working with Dawn as
pass,
well,
and
and
pass,
in comparison, we were talking in comparison with the other students, she noticed that growth, like William, for example, because you wanna know that, right, how she works,
she hasn't passed any of her
what is the
stars,
comparison?
third, fourth,
And William is
that's already gonna
succeeding
fall.
in all of them.
Unfortunately.
How long has she been gone?
Benchmarks,
Okay.
We have also the start, the M star.
writing test, which she's pretty strong in writing.
How did she do on her basic?
As long as it's a personal, if it's about her, the story, like in the
I
benchmark, she did well because of the
I
fact
just
that
do
it was
the,
a,
the units, the bridges.
it was about her, the
Well,
personal
remember at the
narrative.
beginning of the year?
That's the only issue she did.
Oh, I did.
Something she can help. Yeah.
She was very, one of the lowest. Susie was first and then she was
70
first.
math, first benchmark,
Sarah didn't rate.
first in grade,
It should be on
but that's just something,
But if you look in my Google Docs,
kind of a review of stuff.
Save.
Oh.
Save.
And then as you can see, how much it was worked out. So it was just,
Okay, I only run one.
he guesses or does she really know?
Anymore. I did it,
That
that was before I started doing it in Google.
writing test, I said 94, so she's pretty good with the
if
writing.
not, I'll run upstairs over here. I know where it is. It's on the red folder, it's on my window, I'll get it.
As you can see, she's reading at a 40, so really, I mean, for her to be getting, was it 45 on a
Actually, since I'm looking at, she actually went down in hers this one. But she did better in her main module than her in module. And that's what the M-STAR looks like too. So she's progressed. I know there's just a lot of stuff going in, and now she's like, I got this multiplication. Everything, so now it's just like, so this one's the class average. So the class average went up.
So I don't know what else to do. I don't know if
So she, at the beginning of the year, she was above the class.
what else can I do for her? Right.
Well, she does have the patterns of strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, thank you for,
So
I was like, okay, I don't understand. Now, this is a class effort.
I know once brother got to 3rd grade, I know he also struggled.
Was she struggling in something?
From what I can remember,
When mom talked to her, or when Cindy talked to her, it's been so long.
There she is, okay. April.
and I remember brother made a whole
No, I know.
Baseline.
She's telling me
grade, but as far as the whole
Which means
class,
she
there
got,
are certain
well,
teachers that
4 right.
she brought them with her. And like I said,
But it was like,
prove
yeah.
I could be so that's when I realized brother.
And that's probably 2 questions wrong. 1 point is for a strategy and 1 point is for character. So it could be just 1 question.
Honestly, I've never
Or, I mean,
so
for us.
he's a sophomore now. Or freshman. Years.
Information, I got it, so
I had to say,
she'll look at that,
but I mean,
you know, she's learned, they can wait a little bit to get through that, and then strategies.
sometimes I get it, but as
So
far
she's
as,
just learning to.
it doesn't look like it's my
Oh,
son.
also, I want to piggyback on that. She's always the last
She
one to
does turn in
finish
her
everything.
homework.
Maybe you see that
She's
person is
responsible
right
to turn in.
So when I put those off, it's just.
Working on it, she's working on it, you know, so.
She turned it in correctly, like, you tell parents to done.
And I had a
Oh,
lot
no,
of
I know.
problems at the beginning of the year
For the
because I
most
had a
part,
lot of
it's,
missing.
okay, and like I said, I mean,
Because she never turned
like
anything.
math, a lot of it is bridges,
I had to be, I learned how to be on
for
top
now,
of
I don't think it's necessary for me to go by that.
Is this
I try to go by the mercy and other things
This
that
little,
I can.
their little brother is in first, and
And her
I have
history.
no growth.
So,
He memorizes
I
the
don't know if I
patterns
should
of
try
the
something
books,
else with her
and so that's what's
a new goal,
keeping him on that.
or if he
Was he an RTI?
does he indicate
I'm sorry.
Is she an RTI?
scattered.
it's.
I would
that's
assume,
the
right?
thing.
There
Can
should
we
be
say, yeah, there should be a form, right?
a summary sheet or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's one here.
okay.
Yeah, she can do that.
One digit,
So we start struggling.
what about 2 digit? Regrouping and all that. She able to do that?
Okay.
No, that's not even.
April has made some progress this school year. She does all right with the concrete concepts, but struggles often with anything analytical, evaluative, creative, set of higher blooms. She has very little motivation to work when the activities, information, or task is difficult for her. She just shuts down and doesn't try to work through any application of information study earlier, as well as transfer knowledge to the She has demonstrated a lack of short-term memory. She still cannot remember what her birthday is after 3 different teachers have tried to help her throughout this school year.
Confident.
April's not very consistent with her schoolwork.
Does
and
she,
feels
when
she's
it
not
comes
participating
down
in group
to
activities,
math,
only answering when she
if
is
I
called.
call on her,
She
she'll
does a
bring
little
that
better in
up.
small groups. She does hardly have a problem. She does have
So
a
she
problem
knows that,
getting during
even,
activities.
and then, I mean, I'll sit there and I'll encourage her and she'll
Pretty focus.
get it. And, we'll cheer her on, but
I am very happy with her jump from a level 8 ERA to a 20.
she's already crying.
The transfer of information is not something that she knows how to
When
do.
it's
She
something,
learns
even
it
when
in
it's something that I've seen she can do it, and I've called her up, she'll, break down.
She was tier 3. She was in tier 3 at the end of last year, so I mean, it's been tier 3 for a
So
long
when you were
time.
working on place values,
To
you
review
had,
that
you
for 6
talked about
weeks, if that intervention's
her
not working, we try
circling
something else.
place value.
Yes, and then
Was
tier
part of
three,
multiplication?
I think it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel
Okay,
like
here
we
we
should
have
be
the
able
place value.
Then there should be something that's actually accurate.
Yeah.
You should, okay, let's test it.
I think we should.
That's a recommendation.
I do. I think this is. Two, well, for sure two, I can look for more, let me go back to 2012.
That's our recommendation.
Here it is, summary sheet in 2012, when she was in seventh grade, she was with Linda Butler. April was going from EDL 4 to an 18. while
If she
working
doesn't understand place
Oh, reading and math.
Yeah, because we were gonna go into comparing.
She does well when she works one-on-one or small group. She'll use her manipulative when you do it as a follow along with what is expected, but then when she's to do it on her own, she seems to
And as you can
look
see,
lost on sort of what to do. It's hit or miss
Here
when it
she
comes
is.
to two-digit numbers.
That was
She needs to continue her intervention of adding and subtracting two-digit numbers with them without regrouping
just
4 and 5 times.
completely.
It might be helpful to start with adding numbers so she masters it, then move on to subtracting and finally mixing both. She was tier 3 in second grade. She's been tier 3 for 3 years. That for sure.
I can probably get somebody like Mariana.
I think that's our recommendation.
I think that's what I would recommend. Yes.
Next step.
So I would say for next steps, while we're waiting for all of this to take place, is to start with this addition, two-digit numbers like we're doing. Look and see what your chance to here's intervention and work with her at that. And I think just teaching her reasonableness and maybe using those base 10 blocks and then those looking at it and saying, how can, you know what? Well,
we're still in April.
We recommended her.
we're gonna recommend
She's been in tier 3 since second grade.
second grade.
Okay, so.
There we go. I've heard that. I've heard too. I've heard look at that. Okay, so. 30 lessons.
If you've got 100,000, you can get.
Just look at these, I'm not gonna show you the work, but. Like minus 10.
Problems.
Sometimes.
She taught or they were if she was using the charts around her, doing that, which you could tell take
The problem, so Stacy, it was talking about in her summary sheet that she never mastered, what was it?
She can't master two
Two
now.
digit.
She can master second grade and third grade, now she's not mastering it in fourth grade. It's like we're on the same goal.
Can let me grab one of my summary sheets, do you guys mind?
Okay.
We'll continue with that. I mean, I think that's some foundation that she's probably just completely
not very strong.
in.
Yeah, and that.
I wasn't here for the original discussion,
But even like if you're having her do something like this, maybe make her highlight the decimal one color and the comma another color, so that way we're being very.
Well, let me,
Yeah, and I think there's in there where you
just
can
looking
see
at
she
her
put in
data,
our
her benchmark was at 23% this year. Her star last year for math was at 24%. Her report card, 60, first 9 weeks, 63, second 9 weeks at 62,
Maybe that'll help her,
third 9 weeks.
just identifying, and I always used to tell them when you.
So far in the
decimal,
Right.
you say and, so you can have her write
Yeah,
it
because
in
we
there.
won't, yeah, so far, that's what she said. She took a number corner baseline assessment at the beginning of the year, and she scored a 4. That was the
I
lowest
would,
in the
and
class.
even if you have to.
But that was
at the
4,
beginning,
raw
you can
score
have
of
her
4.
have
And I
to
think
make
there was
her
about
house.
36 or so problems.
Making a chart in there. And if they said
Yeah, she does, she scores a 4 on the unit 3 assessment, the whole 4 assessment. Bridges really gets down into, getting into the conceptual understanding. So, that's not even working. She,
right?
She had her first goal was to work on her, just basic multiplication facts. Then they used flashcards, manipulative graphic organizers. She's made little to no progress. We were right on the news October. We suggested that she's not gonna get her multiplication because she's not even understanding addition. Just by looking at what Dawn's been working with her. And Dawn's been working with her since November, and Dawn says she's not making any progress in her multiplication. She was one that I was looking at. Okay. Well, just the fact that when we went and looked and she was tier 3 in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade.
What about other concerns? Do you have any behavior or emotional concerns?
That is not.
Socially, she's doing anything with writing?
Get her back there.
Extra time. And I need to remind her of returning.
But she's not defined, she'll comply.
Any spelling concerns?
Her spelling is a little difficult, but it's understandable.
Any physical, fine motor, gross motor problems? No, that I know there. Any outside diagnosis of ADHD or anything else? Any concerns? What about reading?
Well, reading is good, actually, it's close to the goal. She's reading 34.
Okay.
She should be reading 40. I mean, it's low, but
Splinter skills.
it's low, but not that low as math. Math is the one that is red numbers.
And then we came first grade.
Oh, I don't know him yet.
You would
You were
I'm very concerned about him. I work with him.
do we have any start data?
You're right, kind of the thing, you know, it's like, do you understand what 4% is asking you to do, kind of thing?
Benchmark.
Or, you know, it's like somewhere else.
One was 23%.
I don't know, yeah, I saw like.
Reading, do you want to know her reading star?
Yes.
Okay. I think,
35.
20, 30.
35.
Did those scores?
35% for reading, is that what you said? Yeah. No.
So the second meeting that you just watched a clip of was of me at an RTI committee meeting. This committee looks at students who are tier 3 who are needing some additional intervention outside of the classroom. In Leander ISD, we actually have 4 tiers to our RTI system. And so tier 4, which is not usually, most districts don't have a tier 4, but in Leander, tier 4 are students who are needing to receive 504 services or special education services. So tier 3 students are those kiddos who are really needing to be monitored, and we're needing to really look closely at their intervention and see what next steps should be for that kid. So at this meeting, a teacher is presenting one of her students who's really been struggling in math, and we also looked at the student's STAR testing results from 3rd grade and her benchmarks, as well as her baseline assessments, to see how she's been doing overall the past couple of years. And she had scored very, very low in all of those tests. And the teacher said that really they're concerned because she has trouble processing information. She really doesn't have any number sense, and she struggles greatly with place value. And so as they were talking about all of this, I was thinking to myself, once they mentioned the goal that they had actually been working on with her in her intervention group was the student will be able to determine the correct operation to use in a story problem. And to me, I don't think that that's actually an appropriate goal for this student. Obviously, she's struggling with just number sense in general, and so that's not that's not really the goal that she should be working on. I think she should be working on place value, on number sense, on being able to understand the value of each digit. And so that was something that I would have suggested, I think, to change the goal. And so she's probably been working on that goal that the teacher said for almost 4 weeks. So is that really, are we really getting to the root of the problem and helping fill in those gaps if we're not even on the right goal? So, and I know it's really hard to make goals, so I think that would be something as an administrator to see, that maybe there are some things that we need to do to help get some professional development to teachers on how to make really quality goals that are measurable and that are that are going to be reachable for that student at that time, that are going to kind of be stepping blocks for them. Another thing that I noticed in the meeting that I think should have been asked was a little bit more about her family life. We heard that they only speak Spanish at home, and that there's kind of one of the teachers mentioned that her older brother had been tested and serviced by the special ed department. But we never really got any input on what the parents thought about their child, or if there had been any contact made previously with the parent. And I think that's a really important piece to include and to always ask about, because that's it's a huge piece to the puzzle that was kind of missing in this meeting, in my opinion. So overall, the committee decided, after looking at all of the data and talking to the teachers who service her, that this student should be recommended for further testing. And I do agree with the decision the committee made. While I do think there were a few things that I think needed to be altered before that decision was made, in a previous meeting, like let's set some quality goals. Let's make sure that we have the correct manipulatives in the hands of this child. Let's make sure that the strategies that we're teaching her are appropriate for where her level is. But it seems like this child really does need to be tested to see what else we can do to service her. So I do agree with what they decided, and I think this was a really interesting activity. It was hard to not be an active participant, but to be just an observer, because I get so passionate about RTI and about being a part of the group and wanting to, give some of the things that I was thinking, put a voice to those things I was thinking. But I think that it helps to really sit back and analyze what's being said, to think about ways to improve whenever I am in the next RTI meeting, what I can do to help elevate the conversation and get really great tips out there. But also, it helped me to see the dynamic of the group, and I found that one of the teachers kind of, while she was not the leader of the committee, she kind of took over the meeting in a way. And I think that can sometimes be harmful and make teachers shut down who are trying to share what they've been doing with their student, and instead of helping facilitate the meeting, when you just kind of railroad it, it doesn't really benefit anyone. So that was something else that I was considering as I was watching it, to always keep that in mind. So I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to doing my next participant video coming soon. Thanks. Bye. In my next observation video clip, you'll be watching an ARD meeting on a 4th grade speech student. Thanks.
Sure, I'm Gracie Davis, and I'm Christopher Davis' mom.
Me? DeAndre Wright Hall, his teacher.
Leanne Torres, speech pathologist.
And Giselle Kellogg, I'm your district representative and the ARD facilitator for this campus. All right, I always like to start off and say our teachers are going to report, but Mom, do you have any concerns or any questions that you'd like to start us off with that are heavy on your mind, that you feel like we really need to touch on today?
Well, We're working on a lot of things lately with Chris. We're thinking that we need to switch medications with him
Okay.
because he's not concentrating as much as we thought he was. But we're noticing that he really is not focusing as much as we were hoping he would be. So we need to make an appointment with his doctor and see if we can switch medication. Because he's been taking the same thing for a while now.
What is he currently taking?
It's for ADD.
Mhm.
It's Strattera.
Okay. And how many milligrams is he taking currently?
I believe it's 54.
54 per day, one time per day?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay. All right, well, anything else that you feel like? I know they're gonna
Other than
talk about a
that,
lot.
Other than that, he's doing really good because he really likes to read a lot, and that helps. And his
Yeah.
reward after, because we can buy, a good chapter book, and he'll read it really fast. The thing is, he goes through it, and he's done with it. And when we did book fair, he bought like 5 books. Well, he read them all in 1 week.
Wow, that's
And
impressive.
he really likes to read. He really likes to read, and that helps a lot. So we do tend to say, okay, then now you can play video games. But then he's like, okay, well, I read 5 books. How much do I get of video games?
5?
Right, so he's trying to, yeah.
He's definitely a negotiator.
Yes, yes, he is. Yes, he is.
When he reads those books, do you feel like he comprehends the information in
Yes.
it well? Well, that's really good. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just touch on the beginning part of our paperwork, and then I'm going to let teachers report and see how things are going here at school, and we'll just have a conversation about that. All right. To start us off, Christopher, and do you call him Chris?
Chris.
Chris does qualify for special education services under the eligibility of speech impairment, and his last full and individual evaluation was done 4/25/13. So he would be due again 4/24 of 2016. Now, saying that, that's when the district would look at evaluation, but if you have any concerns, you have the right as a parent to request evaluation at any time. Now, do we have a formal eligibility of the attention piece? Do we have anything from the doctor? I'm assuming, because he's on medication, is that something you'd be interested in having us add or investigate the ADHD piece? I'm not sure where he is with speech.
He's doing well with speech. I think Chris is a really smart boy. I think we've talked about it in previous years, like when he was with Miss Cubitt in 1st or 2nd grade, but he does well. You know, his grades are pretty good, so we've always kind of felt that he didn't need special ed for anything else. You know, as he gets a little older, and we can talk about this now, maybe he might need some accommodations through 504. I would think that route would probably be better, but I'm not sure if that's even necessary, so we can talk about
So
it.
academically, there really are not any big concerns?
No.
Okay. Just know that if that is ever something that you want to talk about more formally, just absolutely let us know, okay? All right, so I'm going to let teachers then take it and report how things have been going.
I'll go first.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I met with his mom to kind of go over these things before. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so first I'll start by talking about math, and then for each category I have strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
So for math I have he can take notes when prompted and works well independently. He solves 1 and 2 step story problems with little to no difficulty, and he is fluent with his math facts. For areas of growth, he doesn't offer ideas or speak out in discussion unless prompted, and he does not ask clarifying questions when he doesn't understand. He'll just complete the whole thing the wrong way.
Okay.
For reading and social studies, writing specifically, he offers input when prompted. He can write complete sentences and provide some detail. He's also able to sequence events in his own writing. For areas of growth in writing, he struggles to apply punctuation consistently, and that his penmanship is often larger than most, and sometimes he'll take up 2 lines, and that his peers are not able to read his writing. So when we conference and things, they're not able to read it. He has to read it to them. For reading, he enjoys reading in class. He chooses to read without prompting. He was on grade level at the beginning of the year. My only concern with reading is that his disorganization is keeping him from turning things in on time and completing assignments. I have to remind him, especially if it's an ongoing assignment, where to put it, in what specific folder, and watch him make sure he keeps it there so he can find it the following day. And also, when it is completed, I have to make sure he gives it to me.
A little bit of
I'm
follow-up.
like, I know, you know, where's
Sometimes
it?
I've had to
Yeah.
come to the school to bring it, because he forgets a lot.
Yeah. So he knows it. It's just getting his work turned into me. And then for science, I have that he prefers to work alone, which is sometimes an issue because science is structured so that it's collaborative. So that's sometimes an issue. But he can work well in small groups whenever I'm there to remind him or part of the group to help him stay on task. And for a classroom, like peer relationships and group work, I put that he has a good friend in 4th grade and he plays with him at recess. He eats with him at lunch. He's able to, and then struggle for peer relationships is again struggling to stay on task when he's working in a small group. And I have personally observed him playing, which is like talking about something that's not related, fidgeting or playing with school supplies or his water bottle, like making a puddle and then creating things out of his school supplies. And he also does not seek help with peer conflicts. So if there's an issue going on with someone else, he doesn't tell me. I kind of have to figure it out on my own, or maybe someone else will tell me if they saw it. When it comes to working independently, of course, that's his favorite. He does well with that. But again, with independent work, the items in his desk are a frequent distraction, and his desk is disorganized, often resulting in misplaced assignments or homework.
Okay.
So a lot of the concerns I have are with organization and focus.
Well, and that would sort of align
Yeah.
with what we
Yes.
know are some struggles. Okay, as far as DRA level, what is his current DRA level?
It is a 38. Well, it was a 38 at the beginning of the year, which made him on grade level.
Grade
So,
level, so
yeah.
38 independent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so working on grade level for in language arts, working on grade level
And
for
math.
math. Okay, so no
The
academic.
one for language arts though is writing. He has great ideas, but it's just getting it
on paper.
Yeah, the penmanship is the thing that we're struggling with in writing.
Is he able to get his ideas down on
Yes.
paper?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get it in the amount of space that they're giving him,
Oh,
You know
I
what I
see, for the.
because he writes large.
Are you able to read his writing?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Mom, any questions for her? You guys have had a chance to talk. All right, let's let speech go ahead and talk a little bit about how he's doing.
So Chris is doing really well in speech. You know, I've seen him for a couple of years now, and he's making really good progress. And my hope for Chris is that this meeting next year we can be graduating from speech, and I totally see that happening. So we're really just cleaning up the TH and the R sound, and Chris is doing really well with the R sound. I don't know that he's necessarily carrying it over outside of my room, but in structured tasks he's doing better than a lot of kiddos that I see for R. That's just a hard sound. So I'm really pleased with the progress that he's making. So, and TH, he does that really well, you just have to remind him. So just when you're at home and he's maybe reading out loud or you're doing homework together, if he says the T or F sound instead of TH, if you just remind him, he'll correct it. He knows how to make that sound. It's just reminding him. And that's always the last piece to come along is, you know, we'll work really hard. My student will be like 100% accurate in my speech room, and then we walk outside and it just, you know, and I'm like, but you just had it. So, but it's hard because when they're thinking about it, they can do it. But then we walk outside of the room and those old habits die hard. So, but he can make the sound. So we're really doing well with that. So I'm really pleased with the progress he's making. And then we do have one language goal, which is vocabulary, just increasing his vocabulary. He sometimes has a hard time like thinking of words or you know, just those vocabulary tasks, similarities and differences, word relationships, things like that are a little bit harder for him. But I'm really happy to hear that he loves reading because that's really going to help. So, that's definitely something. It sounds like he's doing it at home.
Oh, yes.
So I'm really pleased to hear that. But Chris is smart, you know, he's always been one that he might have some weaknesses and then some kind of random strengths that you wouldn't think would go, but he does really well. So he's doing great in speech. So we're going to continue to work on those goals. There's not going to be a lot of change in that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to move on to our competency areas in our paperwork then, if you don't have any additional questions there. The first competency area is behavior, and I'm not hearing any behavioral concerns that we would need to address with goals. For our paperwork purposes, Chris is not considered a second language learner. His communication needs we've talked about, and they'll continue to be addressed through speech services and through his goals and objectives. Physical, is there anything physical other than I would address the piece about medication and that possibly you're looking to find something that would work better for him that I would include in paperwork. Surgeries that would affect him at school, major allergies.
Oh, he has asthma.
Asthma. Do we have an inhaler here at school?
No.
All right, does he take treatments at home, like breathing treatments?
Well, not the breathing treatments, but he has an inhaler every day.
Okay. But just not at school, and
Right, no,
I'll just make sure
It's
we.
a morning thing.
Okay.
Before he comes to school.
Very good. And then, does he wear glasses?
No.
And I'm assuming then hearing and vision is good. All right, I'll just make sure I update that little bit of information. For our paperwork, Chris is not needing any assistive technology over and above what would be used in the classroom to help him communicate or get around school, so we just document no, he's not needing any assistive technology. All right, so progress on previous goals we're going to talk about, unless you guys have already had an opportunity to discuss that, and then new goals that the committee would be recommending moving forward.
Well, I sent the progress home,
Yes,
so
I
did you
read it.
have any questions about that? And like I
It
said,
looks
he's
great.
making good progress, so we'll just continue to work on those.
Okay, all right, then new goals that you're proposing.
The new
You
goals.
kind of touched on them. I
Yeah,
know.
you're not going to see a lot of change, just the R and TH and kind of expanding that to sentences. So, you know, getting the word and putting it in a sentence, or talking about a story and using the sound correctly in the words that he's using to talk about it. And then the vocabulary goal as well. So.
Okay, and that sounds all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any accommodations that we feel like Chris needs to use?
The ones that I have listed right now are check for understanding, frequent feedback, short instructions, 1 to 2 step, and encouragement to verbalize. Does that sound like things that are appropriate? Do we need to add anything else?
No, I think that's a good start.
Okay.
I'm sorry, could you say that?
Sure. Check for understanding, and this is for all subject areas.
Okay.
Frequent feedback, short instructions, 1 to 2 step, and encouragement to verbalize, which you touched on that too.
Thank you.
All right, sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, then moving forward in our paperwork, we document that Chris is not a student with dyslexia needs. That's just a page that we document in our paperwork. We're going to talk about assessments and STAR moving forward. So our STAR recommendations for Chris sound pretty evident given the fact that he's such a bright student. So for this year, he's going to be taking the reading, math, and writing STAR. And for next year, he would be taking reading, math, and science. And that's just the regular STAR.
I just want to ask a question, Ms. Wright Hall. Do you think that, I mean, any child can get reminders to stay on task during the test. So with reminders, Do you think he'll be able to? I think writing is the concern that you're a
Yeah,
little worried
and
about.
I'm gonna work with him again or more to make sure that, because when he takes his time, he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, having the focus to take your time that long. It's a
Right,
stamina
and we're
thing.
on a 4-hour time
Yeah,
limit. It
yeah.
has to be done.
Mhm.
And with you taking him to the doctor, maybe medications will get changed.
Mhm.
So let's just keep an eye on that,
Okay.
and then and see how he does.
Okay.
Even if he takes it and doesn't pass,
Mhm.
we may want to look at it next year and think about the diagnosis that you have, and maybe putting a little more in place. But work with the doctor first, I think, and
Definitely.
see if that change helps, and then give him the normal
Mhm.
accommodations like the reminders,
Okay.
and we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
And that is always your option. If you really feel like that piece is interfering with him being successful, you've been in special education for speech, it's not a big red banner or anything. Sometimes it just gives us an opportunity to provide a little bit more support in areas like extra time because of the distraction and things like that. So if you feel like any of that is a hindrance, please feel very free to bring it to our attention that you'd like to meet again and talk about, eligibility and that maybe other health impairment for the ADHD. Okay.
And the other thing I want to say about that too is it sounds like you're looking at dismissal.
Possibly.
So before we get to that point, really think about it, because if we do add other health impairment, then if he does get dismissed for one reason, he might still get services for a different reason. He might still qualify. So going into middle school, maybe not needing speech anymore, but he may need other supports. But I really think you're right on track with working with the doctor first and see how that comes out. And then looking at how he does on that writing star.
Did you see a difference between Wednesday and today?
Yeah, he was sleepy and slightly lethargic when he first came, but throughout the day he kind of got more energy. But when he first came in, he was.
Because he had to take extra allergy medicine.
Oh, I see.
And I was wondering how does he do? Because the doctor was asking me, should we give it to him at night or in the morning? Because if we give it to him at night, he'll fall asleep like right away.
Mm-hmm.
But then he'll wake up at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning.
Yeah, I did
it's
notice
such
that
a
he was
delicate
sleepy.
dance.
It is.
I said, "What's wrong with you? You're not talking. Your head's down. What's going on?" He was like, "I'm sleepy."
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the allergy medicine.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah. It is.
Because, if he doesn't take it, then he's sick. And if he takes it, he's sleepy. And
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so
It's a
hard for a
challenge.
parent too, because it's hard to know all of the information that's going on in his little body.
It's hard.
Mhm.
It's hard.
Sometimes it's hard for a kid to even express it.
Express
Right.
that,
Mhm.
exactly. You can only sort of wait for those physical things
Yes.
and sort of take that data. Well, sounds like you're doing your best too.
We're working on it.
Right, absolutely. All right, as far as any accommodations for STAR currently over and above, we don't have any data that really supports that he needs other accommodations at this point. So it doesn't look like any additional accommodations are being recommended.
Can I say something about that?
Certainly.
We just took our district benchmarks and tried to make it STAR-like, so their desks were in rows and columns, and some of them had dividers. And he made a 73 on the math one, and a 71 on the reading one, and then a 50 on the writing district benchmark. So I think he can be successful with the STAR tests without anything else.
Yeah, those would be passing
Yeah.
percents on star, not the writing.
Not the writing one, yeah.
So you'd have to bring the writing up a little, but in the 70s, really in the 60s,
Mhm.
for the other tests. Our district criteria is you have to make a 90 to be considered passing, so it'll come back saying you didn't meet standard, but that's that high standard of a 90. STAR is like 67, 69, 70, somewhere around in there for those tests. So for the writing, did he finish his essays? Did he?
He did.
Okay, that's good.
Was the writing
Yeah.
all over the place?
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm thinking that the medication is not the right one. And the doctor just really thought that we needed to up the dose, and that's what he did. But now I'm thinking we need to completely take him off of that
Make a change.
and
or
make a
something
change to
different.
something different.
And you can take information from this meeting to the doctor. That might
She
help.
gave it to me,
Good.
so I'm
Writing
accepting
samples,
it.
all of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
perfect. That's
We're doing
perfect.
that.
Okay. Well, you're being proactive, so that's a very good thing. All right, so as far as STAR, that sounds on target to you. Then we align our district assessments also and just say that district assessments are offered on Chris's grade level. Is he taking those without modifications? Yes. Are we recommending any alternate assessments for him? No. He's a bright kiddo and we want him to take his regular district assessments. All right. Come on, computer, there we go. All right, just some other sort of assessment areas. Physical fitness assessment initiative starts at 3rd grade, goes all the way up through 12th. He's participating in that, unrestricted. And let's see, that's it in that area. Okay, so now we're going to talk about schedule of services for speech.
I've been seeing Chris 8 30-minute sessions per 9 weeks, so once a week, and we'll continue that through the next year.
Okay, and then other than that, he's in the general education setting for his full day for this year. We anticipate that would be the same for next year, unless, of course, we had a meeting for something different. But even then, he would more than likely be a kiddo who stays in the general education setting for that time. I don't see anything that would change that. So, any questions about the schedule of services? That sounds okay? All right, we touch on our supplements. We're not talking about an autism supplement today. That's not applicable to Chris. We're not recommending special transportation for him. He's really not needing that level of support, nor is he needing extended school year services to be successful with his goals. These ladies take data on progress and would note any regression of skills, and should that be something that we need to address, we would call attention to that. But at this point, he's making really great progress, especially with the thought that maybe he'll be dismissed next year. Graduate next year. All right, at this point, I just make sure all of our paperwork matches, make sure our T's are crossed, our I's are dotted. So as far as services, Chris is receiving his core education in the general education setting. We are providing some accommodations for him. He's not needing anything modified. Speech therapy is being provided, and we always consider assistive technology, but he's not needing any of that. The only services where he's removed from the general education classroom are his speech. All right. Mom, we always ask about potential harmful effects. So when Chris is removed, does he express any feelings that he's...
The second video that you just watched was about a student who was having their annual ARD review. So we had his teacher, his speech therapist, the principal, the ARD facilitator, and his mother involved in that meeting. During the meeting, we looked at the students' overall progress, the goals that they were making for speech and for in the classroom, and any accommodations and modifications that needed to be made. It was really a typical ARD meeting, but I thought that it went really smoothly and that the teachers were very, very prepared. I could also tell in the meeting that the mother and teacher had a really great relationship and that the teacher had really worked to build that trust between them. All parties seemed very open and honest, and I think that that was a really cool thing to see and to be a part of. This was my first time to ever be a silent observer of an ARD. I'm usually a participant, somebody who's presenting on the student, so it was really interesting to sit back and take notes on what was being said and really analyze, how things were going for that student. It seems like he's really flourishing in his classroom, and there are just a few things about staying focused and getting organized that the teacher seems to be addressing. I think that it really went well, and I'm glad that I got to see it, and I think I'm going to take some of the tips that I saw the teacher, how she prepared her strengths and weaknesses for the student. She had all of the testing data with her right there. So I'm going to take some of those tips back so that I can apply them for whenever I'm presenting at an ARD as well. So thank you for your time.